I still remember that night like it happened yesterday, the way the rain hit the asphalt, the faint hum of cars rushing down Main Street, and how New York felt too big for a guy like me. I was 26, broke, tired, and running on coffee and half-forgotten dreams. Back then, I was working night shifts at a small convenience store on 10th Avenue. It wasn't glamorous, fluorescent lights, the same old playlist looping through cheap speakers, and customers who came mostly for cigarettes, instant noodles, and silence. And then, one Thursday night, she walked in. Her name was Emily Hart, but I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that she walked like she had somewhere to be, fast, purposeful, but with that softness that made people stop and stare without even realizing it. She came in drenched from the rain, holding a sketchbook under her arm. Like it was worth more than her life. She was looking for instant coffee. I was too stunned to say anything for the first few seconds. Third shelf on the right, I managed to mumble. She smiled. God, that smile! I wasn't supposed to talk to customers beyond the usual, have a good night, but something about her felt different. Like maybe the city paused for a moment to make room for her. When she came to the counter, she glanced at my name tag. Ethan, she read out loud. You look like an Ethan. Yeah? What does that mean? I asked. Like, someone who listens. Not just hears. I didn't know what to say. So, I just smiled, handed her the change, and watched her walk out into the rain. That should have been it, a random, late-night encounter, but fate, I guess, doesn't do random. The next week, she came back, same time. Same rain, only this time, she wasn't in a rush. You're still here, she said. Someone has to keep this city caffeinated. I joked. She laughed, a real laugh, not the polite kind. That night, we talked for almost an hour. About nothing and everything, art, loneliness, the way people forget to look up at the sky. She told me she was an illustrator, working freelance, trying to make rent and dreams meet halfway. I told her I used to play guitar, that I wrote songs once, before life got in the way. She said, you should play again. The world needs more honest noise. I didn't know it yet, but that was the night everything started to change. She started coming by every Thursday. Sometimes she'd bring her sketchbook and show me drawings of strangers on the subway or the skyline over the Hudson. Sometimes she'd just sit on the counter, sipping cheap coffee, while I restocked shelves. It was simple. It was enough. I didn't have much, a small apartment with a leaky faucet, a broken guitar, and a heart that had forgotten what it was like to be noticed. But when she was around, everything felt lighter. Then one night, she didn't come. Hours passed, rain turned to snow, the city went quiet, and I realized how much I'd been waiting, not just for her visits, but for the way she made the nights feel like they meant something. She came back the following week, but something in her eyes had changed. She smiled, but it didn't reach her heart. Hey, I said softly. You okay? She hesitated. Yeah, just, life, you know. I wanted to ask more, but she changed the subject, started sketching something right there on the counter. When she left, she tore the page out of her sketchbook and handed it to me. It was a drawing of me, leaning on the counter, lost in thought, surrounded by shelves and dim light. At the bottom, she'd written, "The boy who listens." Weeks went by. We kept seeing each other, but life outside the store started catching up. Her art gigs weren't paying enough, she was behind on rent, and I was working double shifts to cover my bills. One night, she admitted she might have to move back to her hometown in Ohio, cheaper rent, her parents nearby. It felt like someone punched a hole in my chest. I wanted to tell her to stay, but what could I offer her? A night shift clerk with a broken dream, so, I just nodded and said, "You'll figure it out." She smiled, but her eyes glistened. "You always say that like you believe in me more than I do." The next day, I did something stupid. Or brave. Maybe both. I dusted off my old guitar and went down to a small open mic bar near Union Square. I hadn't played in years, but that night, I sang a song I'd written about her, about a girl who made rainy nights feel like sunlight. The crowd was small, but when I finished, I saw her standing by the door, tears in her eyes. "You didn't tell me you still played," she whispered after the show. "You didn't tell me you were planning to leave," I said back. She looked down, biting her lip. I didn't want to make it harder. Well, too late for that. We walked back in silence until the corner of 10th and West 46th. The air was cold, the city humming softly beneath our feet. She turned to me and said, "You know, sometimes, I wish I met you sooner." "Why?" "Because then I'd have more Thursdays." And that was it. She left 2 days later. The months that followed were great. I kept working, playing at the bar sometimes, but it wasn't the same. Every time it rained, I caught myself looking at the door, waiting for her to walk in again. Then, one night, almost a year later, I got an envelope. No return address. Inside, there was a small drawing of a man playing guitar on a city street, surrounded by faint outlines of people listening. At the bottom, it said, "The world finally heard your noise." And under that, a phone number. When I called, her voice was shaky but smiling. "Hey, Ethan." "Emily." "Yeah. I'm back." Turns out, she'd gotten a job offer, a design position for a publishing company in Brooklyn. We met the next evening at the same cafe where I played my first show. She looked different, more confident, but still her. That same spark, that same warmth that made everything around her seem alive. We talked for hours. About everything that happened, about how she'd sold some of her sketches. How my music videos online had gotten thousands of views. Somehow, our broken paths had led us right back here. When the night ended, she said quietly, "Maybe we were never meant to last the first time." "And now?" I asked. She smiled. "Now, maybe we get it right." And we did, not perfectly, not magically, but honestly. She moved into my apartment 3 months later. We filled the walls with her art and my lyrics. She'd draw while I wrote. We'd laugh about the days when we were just two strangers sharing instant coffee under flickering lights. Life wasn't always easy, rent, deadlines, late nights, but we had each other, and for the first time, that felt like enough. A year later, I played a small concert downtown. Emily stood in the crowd, holding a sketchbook. After the show, she came up, hugged me, and whispered, "You're the song I didn't know I was drawing." I kissed her, and the city around us seemed to pause, the noise, the lights, the chaos, all fading into something soft and endless. That night, we walked home under the same streetlights where it all began. The rain started again, gentle this time. She reached for my hand. I held it tight, and I realized, sometimes love isn't about fireworks or grand gestures. It's about Thursdays, about quiet conversations, missed chances, and finding your way back, when the city sleeps and the heart finally wakes.